Now we are.
Welcome, you scruffy nerf herders, to Geek Salad's retro movie reviews from the Geek Salad podcast. I'm Andy.
I'm Mike.
And joining us tonight is Todd's vinyl Empire Strikes Back soundtrack.
It's wild. With the book.
Is that an original pressing, Todd?
I think it is. Yeah. I got it off of a Facebook marketplace vinyl auction. So
well, then it has to be authentic.
Yeah. I mean, RSO 1980. I think we're good.
I had that. I'm going to start drinking now. Well, we discuss my Patronus. Everybody else has got like these Patroni that are animals and other types of otherworldly beings. Very nice.
That's all I got.
I got my Star Wars widescreen THX VHS.
I don't think anyone would doubt that we're big fans.
Yeah. So anyway, yes, we are talking about my spirit animal tonight, which is the movie Empire Strikes Back.
Can a movie be a spirit animal?
Absolutely can. For me, it can. In another life, I was Han Solo frozen in carbonite. Which, by the way, I think I've shown this one to the retro movie audience before.
Very nice.
But yes.
Well done.
Yeah. Eventually, when my son stops playing with it, I'll get my my other Han Solo frozen in carbonite figure back.
That reminds me. I'll be right back.
Oh, dear. Okay. So while you are looking for whatever you're looking for, Mike, Todd...
Yes.
Let's talk a little bit about Empire Strikes Back, my friend.
I would love to, Andy. I would love to.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes.
Where does this rank?
Number one with the bullet. Yeah.
Okay.
For sure. No doubt.
Now, are you like me that you don't count A New Hope only because it kind of was the trendsetter and shouldn't be?
No. I mean, I understand where you're coming from on that, but I do rank A New Hope in the pantheon. You know, it's just right below Empire. Obviously, it's the original. Nothing else would have happened if that didn't happen. But I try to judge it on its own merits rather than just giving it that, that lofty status.
Yeah. And I completely agree with that.
If we're talking not special editions, then Return of the Jedi is my favorite.
Okay.
All right. You're not a Cy Snoodles fan? Come on.
Oh, is that your popcorn dispenser from Disneyland?
It is.
You son of a bitch.
I bought it. I paid the full price, even though I didn't get any popcorn because I knew I wouldn't be able to eat the popcorn, but I didn't want this.
Amazing.
Son of a bitch. Empire, in my weird ass rankings, Empire is my number one. My number two is The Last Jedi. And this is again, if you're not counting A New Hope. If you're counting A New Hope, it really is like a 1 and 1 3/4.
Sure. That's valid.
Thank you. Yeah. Mike, how about you? Your favorite is the pre-special edition Return of the Jedi?
Well, actually, my favorite is the special edition Star Wars.
Okay. Where does Empire rank?
Empire ranks third in that trilogy. Mainly, the only reason I knock it is because I first saw it when I was like 4 or 5, and seeing like Luke get the shit beat out of him throughout pretty much the entire movie. Having his hand cut off, having the Wampa just mess around with him, that just like really, really freaked me out when I was a kid. And Yoda messing around with his mind too.
Mike, I agree that pre-special edition Return of the Jedi is probably the most kid-friendly of the original trilogy, right? You have the Ewoks, you have Salacious Crumb, who's one of my favorite characters.
Salacious B. Crumb.
Salacious B. Crumb, excuse me. So I can see why you would put it in such high esteem.
But also, I mean, honestly, the cutting from the Endor battle, the space battle, and the battle in the throne room, I thought that was just magnificently, brilliantly done. Mm-hmm. That's some of my favorite filmmaking in the entire trilogy.
Yeah. What is it, by the way, with Return of the Jedi and giving characters middle initials where they don't need middle initials? Because it was Wicket W. Warwick.
Yeah.
Lando Q Calrissian. I'm just making that. I know he has a middle name, but it's not that.
And Solo is just Solo.
Solo.
Han Solo.
Who are your people? So, anyway, yes, we are here tonight to discuss The Empire Strikes Back, episode 5. I am going to guess solely because, Todd, you weren't born yet.
Correct.
And Mike was only 2, that I'm the only one to see this in the theater. First run.
First run.
Does the drive-in count?
You know what? Yes, it does, because I always say that my first movie was Monty Python and the Holy Grail, and I saw that in a drive-in when I was 3 years old. So, yes, it absolutely counts.
Yeah, because according to my brother, sister, and parents, I first saw this movie at the drive-in theater when I was like 3. I don't remember it, but they all tell me it was. So I'll take that as fact.
Nice. My dad took me to see the first 3 movies in the theater, and this one I remember the most distinctly because it was at this old theater in Marlborough, Mass. And there was the first movie theater I'd ever been in that actually had opening curtains.
Ooh.
So you'd walk in, and there were these curtains here. And then when the movie was ready to begin, the curtains would magically open.
So you mean like the opening to Superman?
Very similar, yes. Nice call out. But yeah, I mean, this is also, I had already seen some of the toys. I already had Hoth Han Solo. That was my very first Empire Strikes Back action figure, which Todd showed us. He's got it on a Topps card, which I had all of them wrapped in a gigantic rubber band because, yeah, that's what we did back in the day.
Oh, yeah, had those too.
Mm-hmm.
And just every scene in this movie has got some kind of iconic imagery to me. I remember getting remember those bigger picture books, like the story of and then the movie?
Yeah.
So they had the story of Star Wars. They had the story of The Empire Strikes Back. And there were some fantastic just pictures that I remember that are now iconic of the bounty hunters and the stuff of Han and Leia and Chewie and 3PO in the cockpit of the Falcon as they're trying to get through the asteroid field.
And the space flood coming out.
Well, no, that wasn't in the book.
Oh, it wasn't? Oh.
Not that I remember.
Okay.
But I just remember this movie just was chock-a-block with so much extra stuff that I didn't think I never thought a movie was going to exceed my love for Star Wars because Star Wars made me. But this movie, I think, to the extent of what I am looking for, has it all. Drama, suspense, and while Jedi Return of the Jedi, sorry, we can't just use Jedi anymore because there's another movie with the word Jedi in it. Return of the Jedi offers more in the way of greater technical leaps. And I think a greater expanse of different environments. Empire has just got so much going on because nobody in this movie can catch a break.
Yeah.
That's true.
It's also got one of the greatest twist endings of all time.
It does.
What I wouldn't give to be able to go back in time and experience that twist for the first time again.
And spoil it for everybody in the theater.
In my life, I probably saw the movie when I was 2, and we had the VHS, the Fox Studios VHS. Like you, Andy, I remember watching the trailer for it over and over and over again. It was for the trilogy, right? So there's certain segments of dialogue that is just burned in my brain because they were part of that trailer.
Yeah.
Forward. So seeing this and knowing that twist, I don't remember not knowing the twist at the end of this movie. And I just wish more than anything that I could go back in time and experience it, for the first time.
Well, you want to hear something funny about that is that because I was there for the first time and I had that 3-year wait in between movies. And for the most part, nobody believed it was true. Not a single person believed that Vader was telling the truth.
That's why they put Yoda in his scene and Ben in his scene.
Yeah.
Dagobah in Jedi, because psychologists said, like, hey, we need some affirmation of what happened.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Exactly.
And plus, he had 3 years to think, was he telling the truth or was he not?
From a certain point of view.
Yes, all right.
If I could slap
sensible
the shit out of
Obi-Wan
right now, Obi-Wan, I would.
So Obi-Wan Todd Obi.
Yeah, I mean, let's just talk a little bit about this. All right, so Mike, you had mentioned earlier about the Wampa scene, and Luke just getting the crap kicked out of him pretty much from the third frame of the movie. And you know the whole reason why that happened, right? Island, Todd knows.
Oh, I know.
Wasn't he in a car? This was before his motorcycle accident, right?
This car accident, yeah.
Oh yeah, and got that scar.
Yeah, he had a lot of reconstructive surgery done.
Yeah,
and there's some weird stuff too, because there are cut scenes of them actually, like, you know, you see him in like the Bacta tank, but there's other scenes too where they're like putting like the paper Bacta mask on him, which is all explained in the Marvel Empire Strikes Back adaptation from 1980.
Nice.
Of course it was.
All they had was the full script, not the stuff that got cut. But yeah, no, it was a really interesting way to start a movie with your hero kind of out of it for the first half hour of the film.
Yeah, it was definitely a risk, you know, because I'm sure a lot of people came back to this movie to see Luke and his progression as a Jedi. And then take him out of commission for the first, you know, fifth of the movie or whatever it is. But you get to see him use the Force to, you know, just grab that lightsaber out of the snow. And like that hooked me in this movie. Like that was it. It's like, I want to be a Jedi even more so now because I can levitate stuff. Let's do it.
Mike, what were you going to say?
Well, I was going to say, you know, he does use the Force to get that. But I mean, speaking of the Force, actually, though, I mean, this movie really, really expands on what the Force actually is. I mean, in the first movie, we see Vader choke somebody with the Force, and then Luke like can hear Obi-Wan, and Obi-Wan does the, you know, these aren't the droids you're looking for. That's pretty much all we see of the Force. Here we've got Yoda going on and on about how the Force is and like holds the universe together. He levitates the ship. I mean, they really build on what the Force is and what it can actually do.
And that's just the thing and they expand upon that from movie to movie to movie.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, you know, how interesting or actually how crappy it would have been if the internet was around in 1980. Everybody losing their damn mind at the very first sight of Luke Skywalker, you know, getting beaten up.
Hashtag not my Luke Skywalker.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, for the most part, the biggest triumph he had was figuring out how to take down an AT-AT.
AT-AT.
Yeah, I know it is tough. I want to call them AT-ATs, and I know that's grammatically wrong.
Yeah, but I've been calling them AT-AT since I was 3 years old, so I'm not going to stop now.
Yeah, no, same here. But let's talk about that scene, because that scene just blew my damn mind, and my mind is never reassembled properly because of it.
I mean, we see the rebels get the crap kicked out of them.
Oh my god!
With General Villas, played by we just talked about him last week.
Yeah,
or a couple weeks ago. Yeah,
which Glover is it? Julian Glover.
Julian Glover.
All right.
Good call.
Yeah. Hey, you know that's why I'm here.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, that's kind of funny. I didn't even think that. Yeah, he was in the same movie. I mean, yeah, Harrison Ford, same movie as the last one we talked about, but yeah, just the sight of the Imperial walkers and just how imposing that looked, especially to like an 8-year-old. You know, because it was just like these things are enormous. They're nigh on indestructible, and they just look so damn cool.
Yeah, that scene it's dynamic and it's really well done and it's suspenseful. And going back and watching it now that I know how it was done with those scale models,
Stop motion.
like those matte paintings are beautiful. Like
Yeah.
you don't get that anymore. It's beautiful.
There's an old filmmaking adage, and they talked about it when CG was kind of new and people were overusing it, that CG is a lot like stop motion animation. You can always tell when it's being used. This movie is the exception to that rule. I could not tell that because of the way that they walk, because they are so slow and so plodding, the stop motion is seamless in this movie. It really is.
Just last week, I was watching Disney Gallery behind the scenes of The Mandalorian there. Yeah. And they were talking about like when they were doing the scene in episode 4 with the ATST there, and they actually had to use kind of like the CG to simulate that stop motion because otherwise it just didn't look right. It doesn't look right without that stop motion effect.
Right.
Yep.
Now one thing too about this movie, and we kind of alluded to the other special editions. I honestly think this is the best looking of all 3 of the special edition versions because everything in it is cosmetic.
Yeah.
There was nothing in this movie that was truly added. I mean, yeah, you had that little bit with the Wampa, like chowing down on the leg of something else. I'm assuming Luke's Tauntaun. But other than that, they cleaned up all the matte lines, which is... I never noticed them until someone pointed them out to me. I'm like, oh yeah, no, I can't unsee those.
Yeah.
Yeah, matte lines are
like adding windows to Cloud City. Like it's beautiful. They did a great job.
Beautiful. Yeah. You're absolutely right about that, Todd.
They didn't add any unnecessary scenes. Like unlike like the Jabba scene in the first one and the Yowza.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I did see these special editions in the theaters. It was the first time I got to see Star Wars in a theatrical setting. So I was super pumped for it. I was like 12 years old when they came out and I was like, yes, this is amazing. And seeing, some of and at that point, that was the best that CGI could do, right? That Jabba scene, that was the best that they could do at the time. So as a 12-year-old, it was fine. It has not aged well. Everything in this movie has aged well because you're right. It is more cosmetic than anything else.
Yeah.
And it kept the soul of the movie intact, if that makes any sense.
And, Todd, I can't tell you how happy I am that you got special editions, that you were able to experience the movies in the theater.
Yeah.
I kind of wish my kids could do. I mean, I guess now you've got the larger, you get the bigger screens, the 4K and all that. But, oh, man, what I wouldn't give to let my kids watch all 3 of the original cuts in a movie theater.
Well, they were doing 3D re-releases of these, which
they did one.
Right. They did.
Mike and I saw.
Yes, we did.
We saw the Phantom Menace with Jim and his brother-in-law Adam, and we were the only ones in the theater up until about an hour in when 2 people snuck in.
Yeah, about 45 minutes in, they snuck in.
Yeah,
stayed there for like 20 minutes.
Glasses, hung about for about a half hour, and then left.
Yeah.
Smart. It's a really great way to spend your time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I go see a 3D movie every day. You know what? And the thing is that these movies don't need that. I don't think they need that gimmick. I had no real desire to, other than I can, to go see. If they had done the first 6 movies in 3D, I would have gone to see all of them. But it's unnecessary.
Right. I mean, just thinking about it though, if you had to make any of these trilogies 3D, I think this one would probably work the best. Just because like the Hoth battle, like battles in space, making that 3D would be kind of pointless because you can't really see much of that
background.
Yeah, but the battle on Hoth, I think that would be pretty interesting in 3D.
Yeah. I agree with that. And the funny thing is, too, it's the only real star war in the entire movie, and it's a land-based battle.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's obviously that's not counting, the stuff of the Millennium Falcon, which let's move on to the Millennium Falcon and what they were able to do between episodes 4 and episode 5 with what you could do to make the Millennium Falcon move.
And then they spent the entire movie trying to fix it.
Well, not only that, no, it's not even that. I mean, that plot of the fact that the Millennium Falcon wasn't working, but go back and just watch Millennium Falcon flight scenes from episode 4 and then watch episode 5. Everything is straight ahead, back, or just kind of like a little edge between being able to move vertically, to be able to spin, to be able to maneuver around the asteroids. It was like, hey, what if we just made a miniature?
Yeah, because like the miniature for Star Wars was like the size of like a large table.
It's because they had to shoot the whole thing upside down.
Yeah,
and it was one model. But yeah, no, I mean the Millennium Falcon just got so much more character in this movie, especially when you just kind of retcon 3PO talking to the Falcon.
Solo, yeah.
With Solo, exactly. Got the most peculiar dialect.
And it keeps preaching for robot rights. What the hell?
Do you realize I was only like 2 months ago when I finally realized that the woman who voiced that character is the star of Fleabag? I didn't know that.
Now you know.
Well, knowing's half the battle. G.I. Joe.
The more you know.
So what do you get? What are your thoughts on some of the stuff I just brought up? Mainly with the asteroid scene.
Asteroid scene is unbelievable. Just going, and you're absolutely right about the technical improvements from episode 4 to episode 5. You couldn't have done that scene in 1977, but they crushed it in 1980. Right? There's no doubt that, and it's a pivotal scene. It's a pivotal sequence in the movie, not just for Han and Leia and Chewie on the Falcon, but also for Vader on his command ship, trying to navigate through the asteroid field. Bring it out of the asteroid field so we can talk to the Emperor. Like it's such a dynamic scene that I couldn't imagine this movie without it.
And when you go back and you think about the fact that he knew who Luke Skywalker was at this point, the fact that he is willing to sacrifice his own capital ships to capture the Millennium Falcon is just insane, because he put all of them he put like a whole bunch of Star Destroyers into the asteroid field and they were destroyed. Which is it's really some really interesting character work when you really think about that.
Hey, his men are expendable. The people that are going to lead him to his son, they are not.
Mm-hmm.
And also, the asteroid field.
Oh yeah,
there were two iconic pieces of music in this movie that are not part of the original score, the original Star Wars theme. The asteroid chase has got some of the most intense, because when you listen to that divorced of the movie, it still sounds like a chase.
Yep.
Yes, Todd is pondering his open book vinyl here.
It's amazing. Sounds so good.
And then the Imperial March.
Yep.
I'd also throw in the Leia, Luke, Han and Leia love theme.
Yeah.
You get that Yoda's theme.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of good stuff in here, but I mean, name a piece of music that is as iconic to a villain as the Imperial March.
I can't do it.
You can't. Nothing immediately springs to mind. Some probably
Yeah.
leave something in the comments, but when you think of just evil music, you think dun 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 dun.
For a while, it was my ringtone for you, Andy.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
I
You
would
never
say
thought-
that theme is, for me, it's as iconic as the main Star Wars theme.
I
Yeah.
agree with you 100%
I
on
think
that,
you
Todd.
can move equally with Star Wars. The whole saga. It's those two.
Yeah. I completely agree with you. I can't, it's like the music is my oxygen and I need that Imperial theme to breathe because it's so good. Yeah, and then you've got Dagobah. We've got Yoda. We're introduced to Yoda, finally. He was only introduced in this movie. But it's interesting, and again, I'm gonna refer back to that Marvel, like the Marvel comics tie-in to it. How weird they thought Yoda was gonna look. Like they legit Yoda is in scenes about this tall. But he ranges because comic books.
Yeah. And when you go back and watch it and you know that Yoda is actually Yoda, when you actually listen to all of his dialogue leading up to that moment, it is brilliant because he's telling Luke basically what he's supposed to be doing without actually telling him what he's supposed to be doing. Like, wars not make one great. It's what they do with Yoda is just brilliant in this movie. And I mean, main credit going to Frank Oz on that.
Yeah.
400.
And it was so nice to have him back for The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
It's interesting too, because I have I got the original poster in my studio here, and there is no Yoda at all. They do not give away Yoda. Back in the days when, you wouldn't normally keep stuff like that under wraps. They did a fantastic job of keeping this new character under wraps. I mean, I think I'm just saying, Frank Oz is credited as Yoda, and it actually says that in the credits. But you don't know who Yoda is.
And actually, at the time, you didn't really know who Frank Oz was.
No, you did. I was 8 years old. I knew he was one of the Muppeteers.
Yeah, you knew he was a Muppeteer. You didn't know what he looked like. So, when it just says Frank Oz as Yoda, like, oh, Frank, we're actually going to see who Frank Oz is? Nope, he's just doing a Muppeteer again.
But I think my favorite stuff in this movie is Cloud City.
Yeah,
it's because Lando is so smooth. Ooh, baby. Yeah. I joke about this all the time when I watch Empire. It's when Han and they're attached to the back of the Star Destroyer, waiting for the garbage to float away, and they're trying to figure out where to go. And he's scrolling through the screens of the nearby systems. He goes, that's interesting. Lando. And Leia goes, the Lando system? And he just completely, mansplains to the max. And he's like, you stupid idiot. Lando's not a system. He's a man. And I'm like, oh, man. It doesn't age well when you think about it like that. But it's just such a funny concept that she's like, the Lando system? Where's that? And then you see this, this whole friendship or rivalry between the two characters, and it's just and they're always trying to one up each other with Leia, and it's perfect. I love it.
What would have made that mansplaining scene even better? If Han had some nice cold Colt 45.
That joke's never getting old, is it?
Nope.
What was really nice about the introduction of Lando is first of all, finally, black character, but also a character that is very similar to Han Solo.
Yeah.
Pretty much, Han Solo was the outlier. Han Solo is kind of like the everyman character in this grouping of heroes and princesses and rebellion and armies. And here's this smuggler and scoundrel. Oh, and here's another one.
Well, I mean, by Empire Strikes Back, he had he was no longer kind of that outlier. He was actually a member of the rebellion. He was maybe still a little bit on the outside, but he was still he was in there, and then you got Lando, who was every bit as as smuggler as him, but a little bit more smooth and a little bit more outlier.
And better dressed.
Oh, much better. He could rock those capes. Whew.
Those capes. His entourage, those dudes with like little bucket hats.
Yeah.
And Lobot.
Lobot.
Yeah, no, yeah, I think you're right, Andy, where you see this character that mirrors Han, because you have royalty, you have Princess Leia, who doesn't want to be called your worshipfulness, and then you have Luke, who's training in this ancient religion, right? This high, functioning religion, and then you have Han and Chewie, who are just like, at that point, they're along for the ride because they're running from something, but they can't get off because they have a sense of duty to the rebellion. But he's still Han Solo, and he's still just, a guy, essentially, a guy with a ship and a Wookiee.
The concept of Cloud City to me is amazing. Just, for once your setting isn't a planet. It's just this giant platform that is a floating city. The design of that thing looks awesome. I always thought it looked like a rattle when I was a kid, like a big baby's rattle. But it's really neat. The coloring, the orange and pinks, kind of like it's in the clouds. And we also get introduced to the bounty hunters. I am unapologetically a Boba Fett fan, but I have no reason to be. There is no. What does he do in this movie other than figure out, hey, what if I hang out in the trash for a little bit?
Yep. Yeah,
I think it was hilarious that they decided not to do that tactic. And he's like, oh.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I love Boba Fett. He's one of my favorite characters of this whole saga. I've been thinking about getting a Boba Fett tattoo.
Nice.
But there's really no reason. There it is.
Hey.
I opened it like an idiot. Anyway, it's fine.
In box.
Oh, nice. I've got see with actual who's that? Is that Poe Dameron?
That was Poe Dameron.
Nice.
I mean, and technically speaking,
from was this from California, Mike?
That was from D23, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, D23.
Nice.
Limited edition Golden Boba Fett.
Technically speaking, Boba Fett was not introduced in Empire Strikes Back.
I am aware of that, but the less said about that, the better.
Mike, your laugh just sounded a little bit like Yoda. Very
But yeah, I mean, the bounty hunters. This is the cool thing about this movie. Pardon me while I try to balance Boba Fett there. The cool thing about this movie is that they do introduce a different side of the universe. The bounty hunters are not. I would have never expected bounty hunters in a traditional 3-part story. Just introducing them, and then they took on a life of their own, just through extended universe and stories and all that. So, Todd, I will ask you, sir.
Yes.
Who's your favorite non-Boba Fett bounty hunter?
It's got to be Bosk.
Ooh.
Love Bosk. No, and as a kid watching that and just being like, oh, creatures, cool, and having seen Mandalorian now, it's probably an IG unit because, as long as it's voiced by Taika Waititi, I'm okay with it. But as a kid, it was definitely Bosk.
You know that IG-88 was actually parts from the cantina?
Really?
Yeah, that they put together to make an IG-88. This is on that documentary series on The Mandalorian on Disney Plus. And they talk about that, how popular IG-11 became. And it's like he's based on this character in Empire Strikes Back who's such a background character. He actually shows up in Cloud City in the garbage pile.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wasn't even a real character. He was a prop.
Yeah, his legs were literally just bolted to the floor.
I think I had a better appreciation for that character after playing Shadows of the Empire.
Yeah.
Because he was so hard to beat when I was a kid, and I was like, oh my god, this game was brutal. It's brutal.
Do you ever see that Robot Chicken?
Yeah.
Where all the bounty hunters are hanging out there and they just look at him and go, I wonder what he's thinking. He's just like going for a high shot. I don't know who my favorite would be. I mean, Bosk is awesome. I mean, Dengar is always a mystery. I'd love to know more about Dengar.
Yep.
Actually, I had heard that Dengar makes an appearance in Rise of Skywalker.
Really?
But he's a little different. He's had more like the cybernetic enhancements.
Oh.
I'll see if I can find the thing. But how about you, Mike?
I think it might have been IG-88.
Okay.
I do remember having the action figure at the time. I remember that one was annoying because it was so tall it wouldn't fit in the Darth Vader case. Yeah. It was like a half an inch too tall for this for the sections.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, I have a question for both of you that I've been thinking about lately, and it's probably not plausible, but did Boba Fett carry out the execution of Owen and Beru in A New Hope?
No,
I'm not really sure. I wouldn't say so.
Because Vader specifically says to him, "No disintegrations."
Right. I'm
wondering if that is a callback to Owen and Beru. It's far-fetched, I know, but Owen and Beru and their charred bodies and I just think it's an interesting theory.
Yeah.
No, but actually, little bit of a deep dive here. If you read the Vader comics from Marvel, the latest run of Vader comics, Boba Fett and Vader have had worked together before. In fact, Boba Fett is the one that informs Vader that the person that blew up the Death Star was named Luke Skywalker.
Ooh.
And that's when Vader realizes his son is still alive. Well, his son is alive. And that's actually one of the best frames in the entire comics. I mean, he tells like Boba Fett to get out. He's just standing there in front of like this giant window out into space, and suddenly the entire window just cracks all over it. And you can't see any expression of Vader, but he's just standing there, and suddenly crack. Oh, it's so cool.
Nice.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I found the picture of Dengar. I'm going to see if I can share the screen here. So bear with me a second. Let's see if I can do this.
I'm just waiting for my internet to shit the bed because that's what happens.
Oh, okay.
Cool. Do you have the button for share screen?
Trying to share screen right now. I'm just seeing if. Oh,
there it is.
I see that.
Oh.
Yeah. So, Gar Deng, really Dengar? So that
if you're
Dengar.
Yeah, if you're a fan of Doctor Who, then he looks like the Sontaran, basically potato people in armor. That's what he looks like.
So,
yeah,
cool. Yeah, so that's, and then Han Solo frozen carbonite. Come on, how amazing!
Hey,
what a way!
I love you.
I mean, seriously, it's just
that whole
I don't know.
Again, it has something to do with the music, and we haven't talked about the director of this film, who I think find one of the directors of a Star Wars movie. I think Rian Johnson's up there, but Irvin Kershner is tops for me, right? He taught George Lucas. Mm-hmm. He was his film professor, right? So to have this very esteemed filmmaker and technical filmmaker doing this movie gave it that emotional resonance, and it this one scene where Han is being marched to the chamber to be frozen in carbonite is a perfect example of how to direct a sci-fi movie, or how to direct any movie for that matter.
Yeah.
I mean, this is quite honestly the best acted out of all the movies. He did a really good job with that. Yeah, I just love the use. They don't do a whole lot of close-ups in this movie. Like Todd, you were mentioning that scene with them being marched to the carbon chamber. I mean, that's done at a pretty wide angle.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of the main characters are constantly being obscured by other objects in the room. And it's amazing. And just you don't know what's going to happen to Han. And it's one of those things that when he finally comes out of it, when he's finally, he's encased in the carbonite, it's just such a striking thing. When I was a kid, yes, I know. That I was just I was legitimately terrified. I did not think Han Solo was coming back. And according to Harrison Ford, he didn't want to come back either.
Well, Harrison Ford didn't want to come back a lot of times.
Yeah. But yeah, it's unnerving to see that, because it really was just kind of being done at the end of the day for Jabba's pleasure, just to keep him in there. But it was really interesting way of dispatching of one of your heroes to set up suspense for the next installment.
And not only that, but before that, when they're being tortured, they drag Han back, and they said he says they never even be asking him any questions.
Yeah,
they were torturing him literally just to cause him pain.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, this movie is just insanely good.
And then that's followed up with one of the most one-sided lightsaber fights in the entire movie series. I mean, Luke,
like a man in an ass-kicking contest.
Luke is just swinging that lightsaber around, and Vader's just
one-handing him.
Yeah,
left-handed.
Luke doesn't understand the concept. Oh, maybe I can use the Force as well. Vader's just
Yep.
I mean,
Neoing him. He is.
Oh yeah.
He's playing with him, and then when he finally does get kicked off of that first platform, and they transition to the second part of their fight, he's pissed off, and he's breathing heavier, and he's aggressively swinging, and that's when he starts, sending objects at Luke, and just, it's game over at that point.
Yeah.
You can't win.
Yeah.
There was a point where Darth Vader could have killed Luke Skywalker
easily
in that moment. Yeah. And then, especially when Luke actually gets a hit in on him, and he gets him right in the shoulder.
Yeah. Right in the shoulder quadrant.
Really just starts both hands clubbering.
Yeah. And at that point, Luke's nothing to do but get away.
Yeah.
And then you get the one part of the you're saying that this is the best acted of them. Yeah, but Mark Hamill on that.
That's not true.
Not great.
Impossible.
It works for me. It really does.
No.
You know what the funny thing is too is that that it was it's okay, Mark, you need to react to this thing. We'll tell you what he said later.
Yeah, because the original
they did not trust David Prowse with that secret. They did not tell him and said that Obi-Wan killed his father.
Yep.
And given the relationship with David Prowse since then, it probably was a good idea.
Yeah.
I don't think he would have kept that under wraps.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, this movie from top to bottom, stem to stern, it is a goddamned masterpiece. It's a masterpiece as a Star Wars film, but it's a masterpiece of filmmaking and storytelling. I mean, there are very few part twos that exceed their part ones in story. I mean, yeah, you can see that in technology. You can see, now we made money on the last one, so now we can blow it all on new and bigger toys. But but to also incorporate a better story and not give you like the information overload. I mean, I know I'm talking about something that is 22 years later, but I mean, look at Matrix Reloaded. More money.
I'd rather not.
Well, yeah, but more money, and it's just the movie is just this constant information overload headache. You know, and I'm just tying that in because it's it was another trend-setting sci-fi movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the only thing you could really compare it to in terms of another part 2 that exceeds its part 1 is Star Trek.
You know what? I'll also say Toy Story.
You know what? I'll go with Toy Story as well.
Obviously, Godfather is very common.
Yes, The Godfather. Yeah, I know. This is the eternal. No one's wrong. The only wrong answer is Godfather Part 3 argument. So
Correct.
Zaza. But I don't know. I don't really know if I can contain any more giddiness here about Empire Strikes Back. How about you guys? Anything we didn't touch on?
Oh, there's got to be plenty, and I'm sure we'll. If you can think of anything we missed, which I'm sure we are, leave it in the comment section below.
Let us know what you think about this movie. I mean, where does it rank in your Star Wars films? Keep it civil, obviously. That's what we try to do here. Give this video a big thumbs up and hit the subscribe button if you're not doing that already. And then go back and go on Disney Plus and watch The Empire Strikes Back. Or if you have it on Blu-ray, if you have it on a widescreen THX VHS, where you can still get the original cut. What do you got, Mike? Oh, you've got the DVD, the unexpurgated DVD.
Star Wars.
Okay.
There we go.
I just used to toss these things like Yoda as he's going through the thing.
Oh.
There we go. Special edition.
I missed
special edition.
I would give anything to watch the not special Jedi. Anything.
Todd, when this is all over, my friend, THX widescreen VHS, you can come over to the house. Mike also has it too on DVD. We'll just have to have a non-special edition night. I think that's really what we have to do.
Love that.
Sounds good to me.
You know what? Watch party. I think we should do a watch party. Quite honestly, I don't know how to operate one of those. So anyway, that was Empire Strikes Back. What are your thoughts on this movie? Really, really want to know. But again, keep the comments civil below. Mike, Todd, and I also host a little podcast called Geek Salad. You can check us out wherever you get your podcasts from. That's Stitcher, Spotify, iTunes. Google Podcasts for about another month, iHeartRadio, and you can also get the audio here at YouTube, along with all the other fine movie reviews that you get. You can follow us, our social media. We're most active on Twitter at Geek Salad Radio, but we're also on Facebook at Geek Salad Podcast. Also, check out our TeePublic store where you can get fine shirts and swag like this by going to TeePublic and doing a search keyword Geek Salad Podcast, and you can find all that. Also, don't forget to follow Todd on Instagram. Is it Todd Vikstrom?
Todd Vikstrom, baby.
What is it?
It's just Todd Vikstrom. VICASTROM.
The Toddcast.
The Toddcast.
Yes.
What's up?
Check it out. There is so much vinyl.
So much.
Oh, so much vinyl.
I'm back in the office now, so I'm not just sitting here listening to vinyl all day, every day anymore.
Yeah.
But I do have a nice stack to get through, including the Rushmore soundtrack. So that'll be soon. Rushmore.
Great soundtrack. Wes Anderson always puts out a good soundtrack.
Very true.
So, anyway, until next time, I'm Andy.
I'm Mike.
I'm Todd.
Go forth, be nerdful, and may the force be with you.
Nanu.